Welcome to our second United Voices event. We are so happy you could join us. My name is Nancy Bird and I work here at United Way Waterloo Region Communities. Before we dig into the amazing content that I know we are going to experience in our time together, we're going to start with a territorial acknowledgement. We take time to do a territorial acknowledgement as a way of, lost my place here. We take the time to do a territorial acknowledgement as a way of honoring the land on which our successes have been built and the Indigenous people who have been living on and caring for this land for thousands of years. As well, it's a long-standing protocol among Indigenous peoples that honors their spiritual connection to the land. Today, we offer it as an act of reconciliation between non-Indigenous Canadians and the Indigenous peoples of Canada. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral peoples. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples of Canada. I encourage you to take a moment to do your own land acknowledgement as appropriate, because you may be located in a completely different area than we are here in Kitchener, Waterloo region. So as I said, we are so happy to have you here and we are so excited for Erin to share her important message about well-being right now. So we at United Way developed the series, United Voices, so we could do exactly what we're doing today, provide a forum for people to come together and share their thoughts, concerns, passions, and hopefully walk away a little more informed, feeling a little bit better, and also feeling heard. I think that's something that we don't do enough of in our community sometimes, is take the time to listen and share with each other. United Voices is a vehicle to connect United Way to our community at large and really just engage with you through forums like this with community leaders, movers and shakers, and change agents. It's also a time where we can hopefully take a breath and do something for ourselves, which Erin Moraghan from Litethriive is all about. I'm going to hand it over to Joan Fisk, the CEO here at United Way Waterloo Regions, and she is going to do an introduction to Erin. Over to you, Joan.
Although Erin needs no introduction from me to her, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Erin. Erin's driving purpose is to help people. And that's what is in her core. She finds the truest self. She helps you have a different beginning than you ever thought possible. And that's why we're so excited to bring her here with us today. She does this through an empowered mindset. I found that a little foggy a couple of years ago, but I'm right there. This training is in a community, and this is what we are here today. Waterloo Region Communities is in our name, and that's what we've got. Erin's first connection to United Way was she worked at a youth center, and that youth center was funded by her. Later, she ran a 15,000 person staff campaign at UHN in Toronto, where she learned the ins and outs of both receiving funding from United Way and what it's like to support United Way. She spent most of her career in the fitness industry, and she is a true entrepreneur. Erin knows how to business develop. She knows how to be a coach. She knows how to be successful. She knows what the ups and downs are like. And just like everyone else when pandemic hit, Erin was no different than all of us. She was struck with a completely different world and a completely different way of operating. Hence, Litethriive. Litethriive was born from this very graceful woman who I love. And so I'm proud to have her with us today, and I will let her take it away from here. Erin, thank you. We're so grateful. Over to you.
What an introduction. My goodness. Thank you so much both to Joan and to Nancy and obviously for the United Way for hosting this lunch hour. I can't think of a better way to spend my lunch hour than with all of you. And I really am truly excited to be here. I have had a long-standing relationship and connection to the United Way on so many different levels. And having known Joan since I moved here to the Waterloo region, I am also very thrilled that she is in this role with the United Way, because creating true, authentic connection through community and deepening our experience of being in community and really truly living and thriving in our communities is everything that I stand for and believe in. And I think that community is an integral part of wellness, which we'll talk a little bit about today. I'm just going to share my screen here. All right. So there we go. Perfect. I'm just going to move our heads out of the way here. There we go. All right. So obviously we're here to talk about joy and finding intentional happiness. And I think that there's lots of different ideas about what that means. And I think that that's because we're so inundated with messaging around finding happiness, chasing down purpose, all of these different things. And so the biggest thing that I want to impress upon you today, I know that you've taken a break from your day, whatever your day is like. I want to ask that you really show up and be truly present, because I have a pretty lofty promise for you. My promise to you is that by fully being present for this conversation today, that you will have tools to become permanently happier by the end of this talk. So that's my goal for all of us. And what I'm going to ask for you to do is to make sure that you have a pen and paper of some kind. If you've got a journal, a notebook, whatever it is, if you're taking notes, I think that that's best. It's the best way to get some of this information into your brain rather than taking notes on your device, a tablet, whatever. So pen and paper, fill up your coffee, get comfortable. If you're multitasking and you have the ability to maybe turn off your other devices and just turn your texts off and not worry about anything else for the next little bit, that is going to help you get the most out of this talk as well. If we can really just show up and be fully present, you've invested this time, and I would love for you to make the most of it. The biggest thing here over the next duration of our chat is that we're really showing up to train our brain. So I want you to think about, if you were showing up with your trainer, or you were showing up at the gym or at a yoga class, you probably wouldn't be multitasking and looking all over the place. So really, really show up for a training session and see what we can do today. So if you want to turn your cameras on, I love it, because it's, again, this is connection. I think we're so disconnected all of the time that seeing one another's faces, I think there's huge benefit in that. So go ahead and turn your camera on if you feel like it. If you're not wearing pants and you're, multitasking and you've got cats and dogs and kids jumping all over you, totally understand. And then, as Nancy said, the team will be moderating the chat. I probably won't have the ability to look at the chat too much, so I'll ask for Nancy and whoever else is moderating the chat to please unmute yourself and interrupt me anytime if you think that there's a question that we should discuss and chat about. But please, please use the chat function. The more this is a conversation, I find the better it works, the more we all sort of learn and grow together. So before we dive into all the things that I want to share with you, I think we should just land. One of the things that is so weird about this life that we're currently living in is that we don't commute anywhere for the most part. I know some of us are on site at work, and we have some places that we're driving to, but for most of us, we kind of are sitting in the same chair, looking at the same screen all day long. So I think it's great to have a virtual commute. So what I'll just ask you to do is to help yourself get fully present for this talk. Let's just sit up really tall wherever you are. We're going to place both feet on the ground. So if you've got your legs crossed, just for a moment, uncross them, put your 2 feet square on the ground. We're going to sit up really, really tall. Okay. And one of the biggest things that happens is that when we're under constant tension or stress or just general busyness, lots of spots in the body just chronically tighten up. So I just want you to really relax your belly, relax your jaw. We tend to clench the teeth together when we're busy and stressed and have a lot on our mind, right? Think of just kind of smoothing your brow, dropping your shoulders down, and just taking a few more conscious breaths. So we know we're always breathing, but maybe just extending the inhales and the exhales a little bit longer. And taking just a second as well to really be grateful to yourself for having the wisdom to show up and learn some tools to improve your life, right? To improve your experience of your life, which is so exciting. So let's dive in. We're talking about joy and intentional happiness. And before we talk about what this is, I want to talk about what this is not, right? This is not about all the woo-woo, new age, peace, love, unicorns, right? This is not what it's about. This is not about, I almost call this that toxic positivity, constantly looking for silver linings and not allowing ourselves the opportunity to feel the myriad of feelings that we feel, right? We get to feel stress, we get to feel sadness, overwhelm, confusion, get to have those feelings. So this is not about that toxic positivity and always looking for silver linings and being fake fine. This is a big response that I hear from our members. All the time over the, especially the beginning of the pandemic. How are you doing? Fine, you know, fake fine, where we're just really trying so hard to hold it together. And by the way, I just want to say hello to, we have a lot of members who have shown up for this talk, which I love so much. But I also am seeing quite a few people who have done some workplace wellness workshopping with me. So it's really, really nice to see all of your familiar faces. And for those of you that I don't know, I'm excited to get to know you over the next hour. So this is not what we're talking about today. We're not talking about fake bliss and just walking around through life as though everything's great when it's not. Most of you who already know me know that when I talk about joy and happiness, I truly see this as an act of rebellion. And the reason for that is this. Our thoughts and our feelings, they are habits, right? So there's a lot of neuroscience around this. Our thoughts and our feelings are habits. And it takes a huge act of bravery, in my opinion, to choose to carve a different path forward and to move against the status quo and to decide to create a different reality. So it's really about going against the stream, right? Here's the thing. We are being inundated every single day with so much messaging from all sorts of devices and screens and platforms. There's so much noise coming at us, fighting for our attention. I cannot impress this enough. It takes a huge amount of bravery and determination to choose to create a reality on your own terms. So right away, I just want to thank you for showing up and demonstrating that level of bravery to make a change. And this is the other piece. Why isn't everybody happy? So if it's as easy as habits, why isn't everybody doing it? There are no tricks. There's no magic pills to happiness. There are no quick fixes, just like all wellness. This is about a daily practice. And because of that, it's tough and it's not for everybody, right? And that is why I think that you're extra special for showing up and taking the first move to learn and to grow. So no tricks here, just work. But my goal is, again, to give you the tools to find more permanent happiness in your life through extremely simple, short strategies that are easy to implement for you every single day. So I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about myself, but I'll give you just a quick background so that you can understand where I'm coming from. My career path has been very long and winding. It's been very interesting. But the common thread has always been truly that I live to build community, helping both for-profit and not-for-profit businesses and organizations expand their messaging and their impact through community and true, authentic connection. That is what I stand for. I have spent lots of time in lots of different worlds. I spent a long time in healthcare. Joan is right. I have worked for a couple of United Way agencies, a couple of youth shelters in Toronto. And I have also worked in healthcare running our massive United Way campaign. That was a real learning experience about just how incredible the United Way is and how far reaching all of their activities are. I mean, people are doing employee campaigns for United Way all across the country, and it is mind blowing to see people from all walks of life getting behind what I love so much, again, which is community, showing up for one another, and seeing one another and hearing one another, as Nancy said. So when COVID hit, I was running my fitness business for the last number of years, and I knew absolutely with huge certainty that the most important thing for me to do right from the start of the pandemic was to show up with mindset support. And sort of by accident, my new business, Litethriive, was born. We're a membership community where we focus 100% on fully holistic wellness, movement, mindset, nutrition, but most importantly, really lifestyle, looking at ways that we can do simple, easy things to make our lives happier and more joyful and less stressed, right? That's the key. So before we get started, I always like to, especially in the last year, just start with some personal reflection to put our mindset. This is really about priming our brains to be open and to learn. Okay. So as you'll get to know, I am obsessed with the brain. I am obsessed with learning about ways that we can more easily train the brain, because that's really where all the changes are that we're looking for. So just pick up your pen, grab your notebook, your journal, your piece of paper, whatever you've got. And I just want us to take a moment to reflect back. What are the top, even if you just got 1 to 3 wins, successes, gifts, blessings, unexpected joys from the last year? Just reflecting on that for a minute or so. We like to talk about how tough this year has been, but there have been some mighty huge silver linings, right? There have been some beautiful gifts. And if you feel like typing any of those into the chat, you can do that too. Anything you want to share. It's always inspiring to hear other people's stories and other people's wins. There's been some really unexpected ones. And then my favorite thing to reflect on, I do this every morning in my own personal morning practice. Who shows up for you? Sometimes we take these people and these four-legged beings and whatnot for granted, and we forget how special it is that people show up for us. So just maybe take a moment and jot down for yourself, who shows up for you every single day? Maybe you're not even connected to them physically in any way. And who shows up for you? And then the last thing that I'll ask you, which is probably the most important one, really, how has kindness touched you today? In what ways have you experienced even a tiny kindness today? Maybe you haven't yet. Maybe you can change that after this talk. How has kindness touched this day for you? Clearly, my idea of kindness is when somebody brings you a coffee. And as a matter of fact, my friend Levi just brought me a monogram coffee right before we all sat down. That is kindness. That is legit kindness. Okay, so let's dive into our topic, right? We've got an open mind. We're maybe in a more positive state of mind. So here is the big question. Here is the big question. What stops us from being happy? What is actually standing in our way? What stops us from being happy? I think that I'm going to open up the chat here. Oh yes, the kindness can be something we do for ourselves. Absolutely. So I would love to invite you to type into the chat. Let's just take a minute. What stops us from being happy? You don't need to give a really personal response, but by and large, what do you think? Worry. This is massive. Fear and worry are paralyzing. Expectations. Yes. Overthinking, judgment, time, self-sabotage, self-doubt, isolation, especially in this past year, ourselves. Oh my word, nailing it. Negative people around us. These are the most brilliant responses. Money worries. This is massive. We can never underestimate this. Health and finances are the top stressors that people report, along with workplace stress. Living in the past, not being enough. I'm reading these out because I know this is being recorded. So I want to make sure that people who watch after the fact know what people are sharing. Oh my goodness, loss of elderly parents, caring for elderly parents, right? Being a caregiver in general, being a parent, oh gosh, right? There's a whole lot to worry about. Uncertain employment. This is something that so many of us relate to. And certainly if you're a business owner, this past year has presented immeasurable uncertainty. COVID, right? Isn't that funny that that took so long for that one to come up, because that's been huge for us. So let's really not prioritizing our own needs. You are speaking my language. So really at the end of the day, I believe that what stands in our way of living a happier life is this toxic, unending cycle of if to then, right? If the COVID pandemic would just resolve itself, then we can get back to normal and I will be happy. If my financial situation improves, I'll be happy. If. What are some if-thens? Can we type into the chat? Because I think that we've obviously got some brilliant people hanging out here. What are some if-thens? You don't have to share a personal one. There's so many that are so common. And I think that if I had a boyfriend, if I lose weight, this is huge in my world in the wellness space. If I lose 5 COVID pounds, my jeans will fit and I'll be happy. If I could lose the weight, I'd finally be happy. If I got the vaccine, brilliant. If I had more money, if I had more time in the day. Oh yes, if I could only travel. What about healthcare concerns? If the test comes back negative, I'll be happy. If my partner would, I would be happy. If my kids would stop, blank, I would be happy. If I could adjust to being an empty nester, if my kids were less stressed, right? So there is no end to the if-then cycle. And so here's the problem with that, right? The if-then, first of all, what I want us to all understand is that we have been trained. We have been trained to believe if-then. We were raised to believe if-then. If you get good grades, you will be successful, right? If you learn how to play the violin like your mother, you will be, talented. If you do a better job of this, you will be that. If you do these things, people will like you. We have been raised to buy into the if-then myth. So it is not our fault that we live within if and then. But what happens is, obviously, this puts happiness over here. So this guy, he's like, oh, I see the happiness in the horizon and I don't know how to get from here to there. Because it isn't just one if-then, it's a bazillion if-thens for most of us, right? And this is why in my world, in the fitness and wellness space, I am just such an advocate for rebelling against these stories, because true happiness, health, and contentment is not on the other side of 5 pounds lost, despite what everybody in my industry would like you to believe, right? And so I love this picture because I'm like, okay, so if it's about finding happiness in the moment, how can this guy with his headset on and his legal pad and he's had it, how can this guy find happiness right here in the here and now, right? So we've talked about these examples of if then. So here's what I want us to understand, because everything that we do from a mindset perspective and everything that I coach from a mindset perspective is rooted in neuroscience. Okay, so brain studies continually show that what we've been trained to believe about happiness all our lives is BS. Thoughts, okay? Thoughts have a far greater impact on our happiness than external factors. So this is really truly about training the brain, and this is why mindset is everything. If you are diving into if you're ready for a new wellness strategy, I want you to understand this one thing only from today. Mindset is where the changes are that you're looking for. Not in a diet, not in a new job, not in more money, not in your kids finding a different way of being. Mindset is everything. So I want us to really let that earlier statement sink in. What this really means is that how we think about what's happening, it has more impact over us than what's actually happening. Okay, so let's think about that. Maybe write it down. How we think about what's happening has more power over us than what's actually happening. And I bet that because it's easier to see other people, it's easier to see other people's patterns and behaviors. I bet that you have a friend where you have said to yourself in your mind, if they could only see how blessed they are, right? If they could only see how great everything is, why are they so stressed when they have all of these gifts and blessings, right? So what happens is we are a dog chasing her tail. We will never, ever, ever find more contentment and less stress in our lives if we continue on the if-then journey, right? Happiness is not over there. It's not over there where that guy is looking off into the vista, into the sun. Happiness is not over there. It's right here. Okay, it's right here. And so I want to give you some proof. Okay, so what I want to just be really clear about here is that if you do not have a meditation practice, what I coach is not really considered meditation. It's really about training the brain to be in the here and now. So what I want you to do is just don't worry about meditation. If it's not your thing, that's not what we're going to do. I want you to go back to that initial posture position. Okay, you're going to just put your 2 feet on the ground. If you're leaning back in your chair and you're really slumpy, which most of us kind of curl into this position throughout the day, just sit forward in your chair a little bit so that you're more perched on the edge of it. Feet flat. Okay, feel your hips sink into your chair. Feel the crown of your head lengthen up toward the ceiling. Hands in your lap. Okay, and all we're going to do is what we did before, softening the belly, relaxing the jaw, soften around the eyes. You can have your eyes open or closed. Makes no difference at all. And let's just take a moment. Maybe we haven't even done this yet today, right? We wake up, we shoot out of bed, the whole day starts just going forward, right? So let's just take maybe our first opportunity today to actually be in the body, which is going to help us be present in this moment. All right, so bringing your attention just down to your feet, relaxing the soles of your feet. And I love to reflect on our feet. We take them for granted. We don't take good enough care of them, but just think about all of the adventuring and all of the surviving and thriving that your feet have moved you through in your lifetime. All the trips, all the sand between your toes, the swims in the ocean. And just taking a moment here just to be thankful for the gift of your feet, the strength in your legs. Right? All of the things that you have created with your hands. Beautiful, nourishing meals, holding hands of the people that you love. Maybe building, designing, writing, creating things. Right? Thinking about the gift of your hands. And then just turning your attention for a moment to the breath. Right? Seeing if you can explore a bit of a deeper inhale where the inhales help to open up some of those sticky spots in the lungs because we take shallow breaths when we're busy. Right? Thinking about the way that those inhales draw life energy literally into your body. And thinking about how the exhales can be leveraged to actually just remove and release whatever stress and tension, even physical pain that we're feeling in the body. And thinking about the gift of organs that function today. Thinking about the pure magic of a heart that beats, pumping fresh blood all through your body. Thinking about the tremendous blessing of a brain, of a mind that can analyze and consider and can change and evolve and grow, learn new things anytime you want to. I'm thinking about the gift of nourishing food, hydrating water, the gift of living in peaceful communities, the gift of nature around us, right? The gift of people who show up for us, people who have our backs, who want us to thrive. And then just giving yourself a little shoulder roll, I want to ask you to type into the chat, do you feel a little happier now than you did maybe 10 minutes ago? Type into the chat and let us know what is different. What is different for you? I love this comment from earlier. Everything that happens to you is neutral until you interpret it and give it meaning. Isn't that brilliant? More relaxed, more calm, more grateful, feeling content, relaxed and open, feeling more gratitude. So bigger breaths. We're going to talk about the magic of breath in a moment. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. So what's interesting about this is that we just proved to ourselves, right, that we can feel happier by choice. We can feel joy and contentment and more present, connected by choice. So why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? And actually, why don't I ask you, why don't we do it? Type into the chat, why? Why don't we? Why don't we? What stands in the way of that habit? Busy. Autopilot nailed it. 27 million points for autopilot. Someone to remind us everything else is more important. My word, so true. We enjoy bonding through commiseration. Oh, it's so true. Human nature, time, distractions, laundry, the unfamiliar is uncomfortable. Easier to do in a group. And we are hardwired. We are primarily hardwired to grow in community, right? To grow in community. I need a pocket, Erin. You could, Chantel, you have a pocket, Erin. All right, I love it. So this is the thing, right? First of all, gratitude turns what we already have into far more than enough. So disproving the if-then cycle, right? So this whole if-then that we've been trained to believe, it's BS, right? Because happiness can be right here. We just have to leverage some really smart tools to get ourselves to that place, right? So this is,
sorry to interrupt,
yes.
Erin, it's Nancy. I saw there was a hand up. I believe Amanda has her hand up. Amanda, did you want to just unmute yourself and jump in for a sec here?
Sure.
Hi, sorry, I don't know how to, I don't have a chat box and I can't see people's comments either. Is there, do you know how I can do that?
It should be on the bottom. If you scroll down, you should be able to see a chat bubble on the bottom. I think it's why Erin likes to read it out, because sometimes if you're on your phone, or like if you're calling in, or if you're on your phone device, it's hard to see.
Yeah, I don't have it either. And I'm on the computer.
I'm not sure how to help you with that, Amanda, to tell you the truth, but we can pull some information and maybe share it with you.
Not a problem. That's okay. I just thought I'd ask just in case there's a quick answer, but
I mean, I'll keep reading things out for you. So you'll be fully in the loop.
And Julia from our team is going to keep looking into it for you, Amanda.
I thought I'd try the hand up feature to see if that would allow the text box to come up. Actually, I thought maybe that was connected somehow, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm
no worries.
Enjoying it. So I'll just go back on mute.
No worries. So here's the thing, right? When it comes to being happier, we just have to train the brain, and we have to put training the brain as a higher priority over all the other things that we do. And that sounds really crazy. Like, well, how do we do that? So I'm going to give you some simple tools. There's lots of different ways. There's so many amazing strategies, but I'm going to give you some really simple ways, because here's the thing. Our thoughts, our habits, they truly, truly are trains on a track. There is tons and tons of science behind this. So if you think about because so many of the thoughts that we have are pre-programmed into us from before we could really make a lot of conscious choice, right? We're conditioned as little kids to think certain ways and to have certain beliefs. And all that means is that there are neural pathways in your mind that are deeply established thinking pathways, right? That are deeply established in your brain just because of repetition, because you were raised to have these beliefs and you've developed them through influence over time. So it takes a huge amount of initiative and bravery to say, I'm going to carve new pathways. I'm going to take control of my brain, which often means quieting down this thing to light up this thing between our ears. It takes work, but it's just about being consistent. It doesn't need to be a really huge and difficult process. It's really, really very simple. So this is so fascinating to me. I love sharing this information. Your subconscious mind controls up to 95% of your life. So this is why brain training is so important, because everything that we do, our actions, what we believe, how we think, what we aspire for, they're automatic. For the most part, they're automatic. And this is why it's so difficult, because we'll set these goals that say, we talked about weight loss. I want to lose 5 pounds. I want to make more money. I want to have a different lifestyle. I want to travel more. We verbally say these things, but unfortunately our actions behind them are automatic. They're programmed into our brain through repetition. So we have to create new automatic habits and actions by training the brain. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So these are the tools I'm going to give you today. They're extremely simple. Number one is the 10-second morning. If there's only one thing that you take away from today, aside from the fact that training your brain is ultra important, it's the most important thing, but if there's just one tool that you implement from this talk, it will be the 10-second morning. Okay, I want to talk to you about creating your own energy, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the power of gratitude. So people ask me all the time, what the heck is Litethriive? Where did you come up with that name? Litethriive is just purely 100% about finding wellness by harnessing the power of the morning. And there's a reason for that. I was never a morning person. I am a born night owl. My mom was a night owl. I thrive at night. It's just the way that I am. However, I chose to become a morning person because I recognized that how I start the day, it completely changes your entire trajectory of your life. So the mornings are magic. That's what Litethriive is about. It's about rising with the sun and making conscious choices. And the reason that the morning is so important is because every single thing that we do from the very beginning of the day ripples out. right? It ripples out. So who starts their morning like this, lady? Who starts their morning like this, lady? I did forever. I ended my day and started the day, the morning like this lady, right? So most of us can relate to this. We use our phone as an alarm clock, and then you can't sleep. So you're like, oh, hey, maybe I'll just check out and see what's going on Instagram. And you know what? I've got some emails that I could just cover off really quick. Like, I'm just sitting here anyways. Why don't I just fire off a response to Bob and get on to, maybe I'll do a little banking, better do that transfer, right? Like all of a sudden, before you know it, you could spend so much time on your phone, and you're supposed to be in your haven, in your bed where you rest and where you sleep. So here's another thing that I think most of us can relate to, right? You wake up in the morning, you grab your phone, you start scrolling, right? You start answering emails, but you haven't even had any moment whatsoever to decide how your day is going to go, what you want to do, what your priorities are. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm behind. So you got to handle your family if you have a family, or you feed the dog or the cat or whatever goes on. And you're still working, you're answering, you're being pulled in a million different directions. You never got to be intentional about maybe eating or fueling yourself or taking a walk. So you skip breakfast altogether. Before you know it, the whole day goes to hell in a handbasket. It's 3 o'clock, you haven't eaten. So donuts, coffee, a sugar, whatever you can get, carbs loaded in, because you're crashing, right? And then you keep on working because now you got a sugar high and you got all these things. You weren't that productive this morning because you're pulled in too many directions, right? So then all of a sudden at 6 o'clock, most of us are working at home, right? So we don't really have a hard stop to the workday. And then it's dinner time. You're absolutely starving, but you don't feel like making dinner. So you open a glass of wine a bottle of wine because you're super stressed. And then you order pizza, and then you're too tired to talk to whoever you live with or to do one of your passions or your hobbies. So you just turn on the Netflix and the wheels keep turning, right? The wheels keep on turning. Single glass of wine only. Yes, like Al usually gets a lot of laughs. I love that. So here's the thing, right? We know that this is not how we want to live. We know that this is not how we want to live. And so if we start our day picking up a phone, we sold our brain. We sold our brain to the highest bidder. Whoever is going to get our attention first thing in the morning, we just gave it to them. And then off it goes. And we go into the day being owned by distraction and by our device and whatever it is that's being fired at us. And what I want for you is to consciously decide to start your day owning your brain, right? Because we know our thoughts and feelings are trains on a track, right? So we have to take the ownership back, at least for a moment. So, and really what this boils down to is instead of setting result-based goals, right? We want to design the types of habits that transform you into the person you want to become. We don't just want to be Erin who lost 5 pounds. We don't just want to be Erin who, made a certain amount of, achieved a certain financial goal last year. You want to be whoever it is that you want to be, a creative person, a traveling person, a well person, a healthy person, a kind, warm person. We want to implement the types of habits that transform us into the person that we want to become. So this is the biggest, most important habit, in my opinion. I would love for everyone in the world to stop using their phone as an alarm clock. It's huge. It sounds silly. It sounds negligible, but it is massive. And I believe that it is the source of this completely different pandemic, which is not owning our brains, right? And being constantly bombarded by distractions. So what happens is, right, we can't help it. The alarm goes off, we grab our phone, it's already got our attention. So if this doesn't come into your bedroom and you invest in an alarm clock, that is step one. Okay, so that's a side note. Now, I believe that when the alarm goes off and we press snooze, does anybody have any ideas of what does that say to the subconscious? What does that say to the subconscious mind when we press snooze when the alarm goes off? What does it say to the subconscious mind? Yeah, I don't want to start the day. Not yet. I'm not ready. You guys are a lot more polite than me. I believe that when we press snooze, we are giving the middle finger to the gift of a brand new day, right? Life isn't worth getting up for. Wow. Yes. This is the type of messaging that we are constantly sending to the subconscious mind. Although Anne makes a good point. 5 hours of sleep is not enough. She's 100% right. However, we have to prioritize our rest. We have to prioritize our sleep. But when we press snooze, what we're telling and what the neural pathway that we're enforcing is a new day. Nope, 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 nope. So the easiest thing to do, number one, buy an alarm clock. If you can afford a nice alarm clock that makes fancy bird sounds or forest sounds or wind sounds, that's amazing, okay? Put a sticky note on it while you're training yourself for this habit. Put a sticky note on your alarm clock that says, thank you, thank you, okay? So what we wanna do is not press snooze, look at that sticky note and say, thank you. But then we actually want to feel the thank you. It's not just thanks, oh, right? You want to actually feel the thank you because guess what? You woke up, your lungs are working, your heart is beating. Hopefully you have the gift of the use of your limbs, right? This is a massive gift. So we want to pause for the split second that it takes to actually feel the gratitude. Then just take 3 breaths and then put your feet on the floor. And if you can move forward into a morning mindset practice, even better. But this alone will start to strengthen, will establish and strengthen new neural pathways in your brain that say, not just, I have a goal to spend 30 days waking up differently. This starts to strengthen the neural pathways in your brain that says, I am the kind of person who embraces the gift of day. I am the kind of person who wakes up with intention and who owns my own mind before my feet even hit the floor. Okay, this is the number one thing that I just really want to see everybody shift. Okay, so as I said, you really want to get into a practice of feeling feelings instead of letting ourselves dwell up here in the brain. The brain is just a machine, right? We want to get down into the body and truly feel the gratitude. Truly feel the gratitude. So this is the second bit, right? We can all relate to this lady. She's had it. She's got the COVID overwhelm. This is what we hear all the time, especially from new members in our community. Look, I really want to dive into my wellness, but I have no energy. You don't understand. I am maxed. I got nothing to give. I need to listen to my body and rest. I have nothing left. The amount of times in a week that I hear this, I can't even describe to you. So someone posted this on Instagram a couple of months ago and I shared it with my membership community and everybody was like, oh, yes. So I'll just read this to you really quickly. No, we don't need more sleep. It's our souls that are tired, not our bodies. We need nature. We need adventure, freedom, truth, stillness. We don't need more sleep. We need to wake up and live. So unless you're a laborer, unless you truly are physically exhausted, this is the truth for all of us right now during this pandemic. Our bodies are not tired. So when we say to ourselves, I've just got to listen to my body and get on the couch tonight, actually your body wants you to move, right? So this epidemic right now of I have no energy, I have nothing left to give. I did it all year long. I'm right here with you, zero judgment. So what I want to remind you is that we create our own energy. We create our own energy. This year, more than ever before, we've been waiting for energy to go like, ding dong, I'm here. I'm going to infuse you with some energy. We create our own energy. And yes, if we keep hanging out on this guy and we keep watching the news and we keep allowing our energy to be drained and depleted by all of the uncertainty, all of the confusion, all of the limits and restrictions, then it's no wonder we have no energy, right? So what we have to do is create our own energy. Well, how the heck do we do that? We got to get outside in the daylight. We must move our bodies. We must breathe. Nutrition fuels, that's actual energy, right? What we eat changes how we feel. We either are fueling ourselves or we're depleting ourselves, right? We want to actually connect and laugh. Taking our cameras off when we're in work meetings, especially, just so people can make eye contact and see one another. Be present in the moment as much as we can. Community, which I love, which is what United Way is all about, right? Seeing one another, seeing the people around us, taking walks without a podcast, seeing your neighbors, seeing dogs, squirrels, birds, being here in the moment, right? I'm going to move on from this little slide because I can see we're running out of time. I want to talk a little bit about breath, right? So if you look at this woman sitting at her desk, I want you to think about posturally. This is with or without COVID, just simply posturally, culturally, we sit like this all day long. We're all doing it right now. And I can see some of you straighten up a little bit, right? When we are rounded over our devices in this way and over the steering wheel, the front shoulders roll forward, the chest caves in a little bit. So this compresses the front body and restricts the flow of breath. It restricts the flow of breath. So people will often say that we need to develop a breath practice because we're stressed. We need to breathe better because we're so stressed. But my question back is, are we just stressed because we need to breathe? Maybe if we were breathing, right? There's so many studies out there that help us understand that when we are taking full conscious breaths, breathing primarily through the nose whenever possible, we completely shift our physiology. This is simple science. It's not woo-woo. It's not yoga. It's not any of these things. Simply when we take full conscious breaths through the nose, we shift our physiology and we reduce our levels of stress and anxiety. So I always say, simplest, quickest way to change how you feel. I want to talk about moving because this is not what I mean. Okay. When I talk about movement and fitness and exercise, I am not talking about relinquishing your journey to somebody else and being told exactly what to do. This for me is not my idea of movement, this whole picture. We want to move because we want to live, right? We want to move because we want to travel. We want to play with kids. We want to go on hikes. We want to experience all that life has to offer. So I want you to understand, if you're not active right now and you do not need to go get a trainer or a gym membership or figure out how to move online or whatever it is, just start anywhere. Go for walks, right? Go for walks, do some stretches, do what you love, right? This does not need to be an overwhelming journey. If you want to create more energy, stop dieting and start eating lots of food, right? Good, healthy, nourishing food, 3 squares a day, less sort of grazing and snacking. Just eat your proper meals, love them, sit down for them, close your laptop when you eat, say thanks for your meals, really connect with your food, enjoy your food. Feed yourself like you matter, right? These things are so important. Obviously, get off our devices. We must be much more conscious about this than ever before. We want to connect with ourselves, right? We have to have enough stillness in our own bodies to just remember who we are, to hear our own voices. We want to find ways. We had a whole joy month last month with our membership community where my colleague Christy and I tried so hard to connect every day and make each other laugh. At first, it felt really ridiculous. But after a few days, we just were regularly bawling laughing because we were sending each other silly videos and having really fun connections just through Zoom or FaceTime, right? So really being intentional about connecting with the people that you love. And here's the biggest thing, really being in our communities, going for walks again without your device, without a podcast, without distractions, and smiling at people and seeing people, and maybe even figuring out how you can reach out and help somebody else. One of the biggest ways to change how we feel is to share kindness. Right. And so remembering back from the very beginning, gratitude turns what we already have, right? We get away from the if then, right? If I get this, then I'll be happy. Gratitude turns everything that we already have into a huge blessing if we can pause to to recognize it. So the last tip that I'll leave you with is truly every morning, if you can make time for this, and maybe every night, if you have a gratitude journal, you don't need to journal, dear diary, blah, blah. Just write down 3 things that you're grateful for every morning. And don't just think them, but feel them. Feel the gratitude. And if you have time before bed, maybe 3 things to be grateful for about the day that you're resolving. These are just simple things that are going to carve those neural pathways in your brain that turn you into a more grateful person, right? And if we become a more grateful person, we just will slowly over time become happier and more joyful, right? So 10-second morning, create your own energy, practicing gratitude daily. These are fast, easy, simple things that you can do to become permanently more happy in your life. I know we went right down to the wire here, and I'm just going to stop my screen share. If there are any questions, I am most happy to take them. What an amazing group, though. Lots of, oh, hi. I see some new faces I recognize. Any questions whatsoever? I'm so happy to take them. And for those of you who were talking about, this is easier to do in community. This is what we do in our membership community every single day. Mindset, movement, nutrition, lifestyle, all sorts of lifestyle support so that we can train our brains to just find happiness on a really consistent basis, because it truly is a daily practice. There's a question here. I missed it. Oh, what is it that you called the start to the morning? It was just a 10-second morning, 10-second morning. So it's just don't press snooze, say thank you and feel it, and 3 breaths before your feet hit the floor. My pleasure. My pleasure, everybody.
Well, Erin, I think we could go on and on.
I know.
Because I tell you, this was an enthralling conversation today. But what I hope is that for anybody that joined in today and put some things in the chat, that you got as much out of it as I did. Because one of the things that we have to come away with is that gratitude turns what we already have into a blessing. And that's what Erin finished with today. And that's the one thing that I think I've learned about myself this year. We have seen things in our communities that we didn't know were such difficulties. And United Way is formed this community to help us. But today, United Voices is not about that. United Voices is about welcoming all of you into the community of United Way, and to saying thank you to Erin for how grateful we are for your amazing workshop, filled with lots and lots of ideas. But if nothing else, I'm taking away, put my feet on the floor and say thank you to the day, and get up and get going. And of course, we do, and I do. But this is something that I am grateful for. And I'm grateful for all of you that's joined us today. Know that this is recorded. So if you've had some friends or colleagues that might have missed this and want to hear about it, you can jump onto our website. And I'm pretty sure Nancy will have this up before you know it. Because together we're stronger together. I recognize lots of names, but not all names. So if I haven't met you before, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being part of the United Way community. Thank you for being part of this amazing conversation about ourselves. This story that Erin brought to us today was about us, about you, not about they and them and what we should do or what we better do or what we have to do or what we could do or 5 pounds or whatever. This is about you. And I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for you, Erin, because without you today, I think that this message wouldn't have got to hundreds of people. And I am very grateful for you, and thank you.